Well, good morning and welcome to Garden with Peggy. I'm Peggy Ballister Howells. I'm here with my husband, Tommy, who's pressing all my magic buttons. There's a few critters running around. They all have chew things, so they're much more interested in them than sitting on my lap at the moment. Um, and it's a very busy time of year. There's a lot going on. I should give the phone number, which is 888 399 7344. The 7344 is Peggy, Pegi. And remember that you can reach out to me other ways. You can send me questions or pictures to my email, which is gardenwithpeggy@gmail.com. So you can do that. And then I can take the pictures that you send and incorporate them into the show. So you can call and we can talk about it and other people can see what we're talking about, which is all fun and makes it more interactive, which, everybody seems to enjoy that. Let's see. What else do I want to say? Oh, yeah. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We have all these little shorts that pop up. And we need people to like and subscribe. We're up to 269 on YouTube. That's the important one. The goal is to hit 1,000. Slowly, we are getting there. And, there's a few more every week. So if you have not yet subscribed, we would appreciate it if you could do that. Apparently 1,000 is a magic number that things start to happen at 1,000. So would appreciate that. So we are going to go right to the slides this morning. There's all kinds of things to talk about, and I'm hoping to hear from a lot of people as well. So if we could go to this week at Tiny Farm, that would be great. Aha. This week at Tiny Farm, there were several of these blooming. These are the passion flowers from the passion vine. And this is the one Nancy gave me years ago, which I have propagated and I've given to Uncle Art, a gigantic one. Actually, I think Nancy propagated that one, same kind. But they're rather magnificent. Unfortunately, the flowers don't last very long, only a day or so. And then they shrivel up and fall away. But you can see there's a big fat green bud there that's going to open up right away. So they're wonderful. They are viney, so they do need something to climb up, but they're so spectacular. And this very strange plant is, it's a queen of the night. And somehow I have never managed to see it in full bloom. I always catch it the morning after. This is before it actually bloomed. But the bud is very strange and the plant is very strange, but very interesting. And that's in the greenhouse, of course. Oh, and peas. We have lots of peas everywhere. And we have the purple peas. Now, I showed you them on the vine last week. And the purple ones, again, I do have a little video of showing you of how to make peas and cheese sandwiches, but I am going to point out that the green ones are really, the purple ones are really throwing me for a loop a little bit, because on the same vines, there's some purple one, mostly purple, but then there's some green ones. And then if you look in the upper right-hand corner of this picture, you can see that there are variegated ones. And the purple ones get very tall. And in a spot where the fence was not quite as tall as in other places, they bent over, which is why I'm not growing the sugar snaps anymore. Because once they bend, you lose, the top of the plant. And why I switched to the sugar daddies, which are half as tall and have no problem keeping them supported. This is me picking them, and you can see the purple ones are way towering over my head. And I had enough support in that spot, but to the right of them, the fence was a little shorter, and I was a little upset that they bent over. And so, it's a learning experience, but they taste good. This rose I thought it was a beautiful color. This is at the public library, and they had a whole bunch of these and just covered in flowers. And the plants looked really healthy and many, many blooms and no sign of any kind of disease. I can't tell you what variety they were, but I thought the color was kind of unique. This is my Aramuris. That's a botanical name, desert candle. And unfortunately, they got bumped. Somebody bumped them. It wasn't me. And there were 4 blooms. and two of them got bent, so I lost two, but they are spectacular. They get very tall. One of the things that's nice about them is that you can put them in a key spot because the foliage only gets to be about 18 inches. Um, but the plants themselves, the blooms get to be, 3 or 4 feet. I've even seen them get taller than that. So you can put them in a key spot in the front where you will see them, which is nice. But then when the flowers die, the foliage kind of disappears and doesn't block anything that might be taller behind it. So, and they are, one of the tweeners that blooms, in June after most of your spring flowering bulbs and before your summer annuals really take off. This is a little very, very hardy succulent. It's in a frog. That is a frog. Hard to tell it's a frog from this angle, but it is most definitely a frog. And it has lived outside in this frog concrete container for 4 or 5 years. So, and now it's blooming. So, and it blooms pretty much every year. And I do lose some of it over the winter, maybe a little bit, but it's quite robust actually and survives in a container above ground over the winter. All right, these are my columnar white pines. And you can see last year they produced a bunch of cones. What I'm showing you is the new growth. You can see those skinny shoots at the tip. And for all white pines, if you want to keep them somewhat contained and make them fuller, what you're supposed to do is take those long shoots, also called candles, and sometimes are given a more rude name. You can just snap them in half, and that will cause them to branch further back, which can be desirable because that will keep them from getting too big too fast and will make them fuller and more attractive. Because you can't really prune them back to bare wood. If you prune them back to bare wood, then what you have is bare wood. So kind of a maintenance thing. If you can't just let them grow and get huge, then the way to contain them is to snap those candles. A stilbe, not quite in full bloom, but definitely almost. And those are in the woods. These particular astilbes were, I believe, a present from Danny Girl from Metuchen, and put them in the woods. And this is the first time I've seen them bloom. And they happen to be right next to this other foxglove. We have a variety of foxgloves in the woods now. I think 3 different colors. And this one's blooming a little bit later than the others, but it's such a pretty color. And an oak leaf hydrangea that is blooming for the first time, about to pop open. You can see all those buds. Very shade tolerant. Also, they get really kind of spectacular fall color. The foliage turns pretty red in the fall. This is a mimosa, a very unusual mimosa. People either love mimosas or hate them. The flowers are those pink puffballs, and I've never seen this one bloom. This one is called Chocolate Fountain, and it is a weeping, hence the fountain, kind of rolling over the sides. The branches are weeping and kind of roll down, kind of arch gracefully. And look at the color of the foliage. That's why they're called chocolate. And I think this is the third year. Will be the third summer. I think I planted it in the summer a couple years ago, and so I think this will be the third summer it's in the ground. So I'm hoping maybe this year we'll actually get to see some flowers. If so, I will make sure to take pictures and share them with you at the time. I think if it gets the pink flowers with this chocolatey foliage, I think the contrast is going to be really quite stunning. So I'm looking forward to that. All right. For years, I have said I don't like hostas. I'm softening slightly, not 100%. I don't think that they should be everywhere. I think they're overused. And the biggest problem with hostas that I find is that they get planted in the wrong spot. If they get planted in sun, many varieties of hostas will just shrivel up by the middle of the summer and just look ugly. Now, this is kind of a relatively shady area. It's over by the barn, and it's got the 8-foot chain link fence behind it. The chain link fence is covered in green fabric, so it gets a lot of partially obscured light. And there's also behind this is where my columnar white pines are. So it definitely gets some protection. And this is, so what I did in order to keep the hostas from being totally boring, and I wanted something back there that would be relatively low maintenance in that area. So I said, okay, I went to my friend Mel's at Madden's Family Farm over on Route 27 near Princeton. And she had such a nice collection, assortment of different kinds of hostas. So I bought one of every kind I could find. And this is more of them. They're all different. And I planted a bed of them. Now I'm trying very hard to get the myrtle to grow up around them and between them. And we're making progress, right, Tommy? It's getting much better. The myrtle is filling in. And so it'll be a relatively low maintenance bed, many shades of green. They do flower. I don't know that that's the main event, but they do flower. And this one is one of my favorites. Wondering if I may have to move it because it's getting slightly overpowered by the bigger ones. But this kind of narrow leaved dark green one is a little bit different. And I love the distinction and the contrast with the other one. So, and also I have no deer. Fortunate again, where we live, we had no deer at Blooming Acres. That was because we had donkeys. We have no deer here, at least in the backyard, because the entire property is fenced in. Because deer will eat hostas. So we're fortunate. Maybe not everyone in every situation are these going to work, but I'm pleased. I am what would be the right, cautiously optimistic about them. Not gung-ho, but cautiously optimistic. And this is the flower on the giant one that is in the woods. I showed you it when it was more bud-like last week. It's opening very slowly. Now this is Empress Wu, and it's gigantic. Someone suggested that I have something in the picture of contrast so we can see how big it really is because it's huge. I'll try to have that for you next week. Oh, this is in the greenhouse. This is a little cactus. Blooms every year. Little hard to photograph because it was way in the back by the windows in the greenhouse, and you don't want to mess with this. You don't want to be moving this around a lot because it will definitely get you. But I was able to kind of reach over everything and put the phone at a little bit of an angle, kind of twisty, and got a picture of the flower. It does bloom every year. Oh, I think it was Danny that sent me this. Might be interested in this. It's in August. It's actually on my birthday, Saturday, August 24th. It's over at Davidson's Mill Pond, their park over there. And it's part of the Middlesex Extension Service. And they are, let's see, it says free family fun, meet the master gardeners, tour our gardens, live music, food trucks, kids activities, and more. Seems like, a nice family thing to do. It's a Saturday. It's my birthday. Maybe we'll go. Okay, this silly little plant is the picture was sent to me by Anne Marie. So Anne Marie, if you want to call about this plant, we can chat about it. It appeared in her pots and is growing like crazy. It's wild parsnip. It's related to Queen Anne's lace, which is related to carrots, which is related to parsnips. The sap of this plant is worse than poison ivy. You can get blistering from it, and it is kind of attractive, but it's not really desirable. So, you can look at it, and if you go to pull it out, you should wear gloves. And it's also a biennial, which means that it was probably in the ground last year, but this year it's blooming and then it will die back completely. I'm not sure if it has the ability to sucker from the roots, but the main plant will die back. It's kind of pretty. It's sort of interesting. I think even the foliage is attractive, but not necessarily something you want to keep around. Is that it? Is that the last one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's the last one. So let me give the phone number again. It's 888-399-7344. And I'm hoping Pat will call about her Weigelia, because I do have she sent me a picture, and we do have that ready to show. And she had some pruning questions, and I prefer to be able to discuss it with her rather than, just blab on about what I would do. It's better to have a conversation. So I'm hoping that she'll give us a call. Again, the number 888-399-7344. All right. You know what I think we should do now, because it's very, very, very important, is we should show the video that I made with Tommy's help, of course, on how to make a peas and cheese sandwich. So Tommy, take it away. Well, it's that time of year again, very special time of year for peas and cheese sandwiches. But we're going to do something a little different, because this year we have purple peas. It's a new variety that we tried. They get really tall as the sugar snaps. So I'm not sure if I'm going to grow them again, only because a few of them did bend over. But we also have green ones, and these are sugar daddies, and these are good. But very interestingly, some of the purple ones are variegated. See, like it's purple on that side, and then it's green on that side. So that's all kind of cool. But we're going to put the English muffin in the toaster. Remember, we don't want it toasted too much, because you don't want it overly crunchy. We're going to clean a few of these peas. They've already been washed. And after some recent experimentation, I would say it takes 8 peas to make a perfect peas and cheese sandwich. So we will clean 8 peas. We have here some American cheese, and we have both yellow and white. And that's because my dear friend Joe prefers to make his with both. It's your personal choice. I don't really tell the difference. And of course, mayonnaise. I prefer Hellmann's mayonnaise. And very important, Jane's Crazy Mixed Up Salt. We call it Crazy Jane's. These are all very important elements to make a really good peas and cheese sandwich. Now you do have to string them, because they do have strings, some worse than others. When they get older, they have more strings. And when they get really older, if the pod starts to look a little wrinkled, you can, at that point, you can open them up and eat the peas like English peas. So, now remember, how many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. That is perfect. So we'll put this one aside, because we have one in the toaster. So we'll put this one aside for now. And we will pop this, because again, no, it needs a little bit more. The reason that you don't want it too crunchy is then it becomes hard to squish down. And squishing is an incredibly important part of making a really good peas and cheese sandwich. So just give it another minute. We are having peas and cheese sandwiches for supper tonight. My daughter is coming, and I think we're going to have to bring up a second toaster. Okay, that is good enough. A little bit crunchy, but not too much. We'll take 2 pieces of cheese. We will take 8 pea pods. Got to line them up. Okay, and then mayonnaise. Don't forget the Jane's Crazy Mixed Up Salt. And then the appropriate amount of squishing. And this way, if you squish properly, they will not come shooting out the other end. And here we go. That is so good. And it's easy peasy. Well, that's it. And we did have company for dinner, Joe and Liz. Joe, who prefers the two colors of cheese, and my daughter and her beau. And we did bring up a second toaster. And so we had peas and cheese sandwiches for dinner. They're yummy. And now we have Anne Marie on the line. Hey, Anne Marie, are you with us?
I am. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so that plant was very interesting, but after we spoke, I pulled all out except the tallest one. It actually is blooming and the flower is green. And I did not know it was so dangerous. You didn't share that with me, having just recovered from my 3 weeks of poison ivy. But none of the sap seemed to come out. But the parsnips were small, no bigger than your thumb or less. And I just washed them and laid them aside to see what they would do. And they totally shriveled up by the next day. They were not an edible commodity by any means. But so I left this just up because it's a conversation piece. But thanks for showing it. I didn't mean for it to be viewed by so many.
Well, it's kind of interesting looking. I mean, I think it's pretty.
It is. Leaves are beautiful, except once it grows another couple of inches, the bottom leaves bend themselves. They look like they needed a drink of water, but they don't. They just bend over, and I've just snipped them off, and the thing just keeps going. It's probably about 4 foot tall now, but that's the only thing that's left in there. So
they can get quite large.
I hope it doesn't come back because it's so poisonous to my skin.
Yeah. So, but it's not like poison ivy that if you just touch it, you get it. You have to really come in contact with the sap itself. So, okay. You want to get rid of it. And if you're going to pull it out, you want to wear gloves just in case it bends or the leaves come off kind of thing. So you want to protect yourself. But you're not going to get any reaction from just like bumping into it. But okay. It's interesting. I had them in Ocean Grove. In a particular spot. They came back every year in a particular spot, and I liked them, so I left them there. I did weed them to keep them under control so that they didn't spread, but I thought they were kind of pretty, and sometimes I'm drawn to the plants that just show up on their own. Then they're not weeds if I decide I want them. So but they can spread like crazy. But I thought the close-up picture of the flower was really nice. I think it was really pretty. So what else is going on? Oh, and your tomatoes. Yes.
Into the peas and cheese recipe.
Yes.
Because if you are not Peggy Ballister growing your own peas and your pea pods, you can fake it by buying petite frozen peas, taking some out frozen. I just lie them on a paper towel to absorb any moisture. And put those into your sandwich just the same. And again, be sure to squish it, as Peggy says, because otherwise you'll have peas rolling across the table.
Yes, they go shooting. They go flying out the other end. Yeah, it's actually kind of fun. But didn't that happen at dinner? Didn't somebody have some peas go shooting out? Yes. So yes, the squish factor is very important. And occasionally, not real often, but occasionally you do see snap peas, fresh snap peas at the market. You can get them occasionally. I told my sister I was growing peas, and she was like, I hate peas. I hate growing peas. There's so much work. She was growing English peas. I would never bother growing English peas. It takes a mountain of pea pods to get, once you shell them, to get enough for dinner. There's so much work. And the sugar, the snap peas, the sugar snaps, the sugar daddies, all of those just are much more satisfying. And I think they're sweeter too than the English peas. So, but they do occasionally sell snap peas in the market. But I like the idea that if I get an urge for a peas and cheese sandwich and I have a bag of frozen peas in the freezer, there's no stopping me, right? I mean, isn't that the idea?
For sure.
Yes.
And as we're on the line, I just want to say that I hope anyone that was at Plant Swap and took any of your tomato plants that were growing in little 5-inch cups look as good as mine. In 2 weeks' time, my plants are nearly 2 feet tall. And remember, I have to grow on a deck because I live in Deerville, actually. and they will eat everything that is in the backyard that looks interesting or not. They still eat it.
Yeah, they like
So
to sample. They think it's a charcuterie board. Is that how you say that word? Charcuterie
Yeah,
board?
I know. They had to have a word, those lovely deer.
Yeah,
But
so they sample everything.
Plants are wonderful, and I want Bob to know that the two that were eaten off by the deer that Saturday night are just as big and bushy as they could be. And I have a Baxter bush and a Paul Robeson, Bob, if you want to know what I'm growing. So I thank you for those. And Peggy, I hope everybody else's look as good as mine. So.
Well, good. I wish you lots of tomatoes in the future. I saw this really good recipe online last night that was really, really intriguing me. And it was potatoes and that you boil, and then you you take a pan with butter and chopped up garlic, and you cook the potatoes then until they get brown and crunchy, and then you mix them. You take everything out of the pot, and you cut up tomatoes and put them in the frying pan with some onion, and you cook it until it's mush, and then you mix the potatoes in with this tomato onion thing. I was so hungry. So I have the potatoes in the garden and I have the tomatoes in the garden. So I think as soon as I do some harvesting of those things, I'm going to try that. I'm looking forward to it. Something a little different. So also it's something you could do
warm.
Yes. Served warm. It looked really good. It made me hungry looking at it. So, and it's not, not difficult. It's also a good budget stretcher because none of those things are very expensive. So
you need to peel the tomatoes before you cook them?
It didn't say in the video that I was watching. You don't even have to peel the potatoes according to the video. But I never peel potatoes. Do you peel potatoes? I never peel potatoes. I scrubbed them.
Depends what kind of potato it is.
I never peel potatoes at all. I think the skin adds texture and interest, and also there's a lot of nutrients. So I figure if it's less work and there's no major reason not to, I don't. So there you have it. I don't. When was the last time you saw me peel a potato? I don't. It's been at least 20 years since I've peeled a potato. So again,
I guess has learned to love them with skins, huh?
Yes. Even mashed potatoes doesn't seem to matter. It adds a little bit of flecks of brown in it, and
peel sweet potatoes sometimes.
I peel sweet potatoes if I'm doing mashed sweet potatoes, but I'll eat the skin on sweet potatoes too if it's just baked in the oven or microwave. All right. Is there anything else we need to cover, my dear friend?
I don't think so. My little poinsettia is okay, except it must have gotten way too warm in the bay window. And although the plant is good, it's losing most of the flower petals. So I don't know what I will. Sooner than later, it may be in the compost, but right now it's still getting babysat.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you called so we could talk about that wild parsnip. And I'm sure we'll be in touch later on this week.
Okay. Sounds good.
Give Uncle Art a hug, and we will talk soon.
Okay. And I am enjoying your black-eyed Susans. I have the tiniest plant that I took out inadvertently and put in a little pot, and it bloomed 3 little flowers. It's so cute.
Good. Enjoy. The more flowers, the better. We're in good shape
Really?
with flowers. It's the perfect time of year for flowers. All right. We will talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Anybody else calling in? I should give the phone number again. I'm hoping that Pat will call in about the Weigelia because I really want to talk to her about that. Oh, let's do something totally different, totally unique. Never even came across this before. So when I decided to do a little slideshow on this, I got really excited because it's so completely different. Let's go to the knitted fence. Yes. So I came across this and then I did a little more research to find more pictures. A Scottish woman named Anne, I guess you would say Unsen. I'm not sure exactly. So she was a big knitter, and she decided to make a garden fence by knitting one. Never would have crossed my mind, but she used, now I just copied this text, and it says modified curtain poles and strong twine. I think that's supposed to be twine, but it's the same material that's used to make fish nets. So it's got to be pretty strong. Have you ever handled a fish net, Tommy? I mean, a real fish net? Have you ever gone fishing with a fish net? We used to use, when I was a little girl, I remember my sister used to use fish nets for decorating her shore house, you know, and she would put starfish in it and seashells and that kind of thing. And I don't remember ever doing anything with it that tested its strength, but it was substantial. I remember that. But I think if they're using fish nets to haul in fish, it's got to be pretty strong. Anyway, so that's what she used. And this is how she did it. I mean, that's such a great picture. So she used these curtain rods and she knitted this beautiful lace-like fence. Is that amazing? I would like to try this. I can knit. I mean, I'm not a great knitter. Don't get me wrong. I'm a pretty fair seamstress and I can crochet. I have knitted this and that, but not anything significant. But I figure I can learn. I can do all these other things, so I could probably learn. Maybe I could crochet a fence. I'm better at crocheting. Anyway, this is it, and I think it's just stunning. And she has this contraption that she attached it to. I don't know where she got that. Maybe somebody built it for her, or maybe she built it herself, or maybe she modified some fencing or something else. This was one way. This was not the only way that she displayed this, but I think it's marvelous. And see, this is easier. This is just some kind of fence posts, and it's strung from post to post. But look at how beautiful that is. And I don't know how effective it would be at keeping critters out. I don't know. I suppose you could attach it on the bottom to a board of some kind so that they couldn't lift it up. But it's just so beautiful. I mean, let's be honest, fencing can sometimes be really ugly. And if it's fishnet, then I would think it's pretty tolerant of wetness, wouldn't be destroyed. Because I mean, if you use it in the water to catch fish, then so I would need to know more about the material itself, but I thought it was a scathingly brilliant idea. And this is another picture of it being used. Anyway, congratulations to this lady for coming up with this absolutely fantastic idea. And it was just, it blew my mind. So I'm sure that people that are creative could come up with a way of making their own. Again, finding the right material. Don't know where you can buy fish net twine by the yard. You could probably find anything online though, right? Maybe an Army Navy. I mean, I know people repair fish nets, so they must be able to buy fishnet twine to use that to repair fish nets. So anyway, I thought that was fun, a little bit different, you know, always looking for the unique and the unusual. All right, so who do we have on the? Okay. Oh, yay.
And then Catherine.
Okay, so let's talk to my dear friend Bob from Piscataway. Hey, Bob, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Peggy. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Good. That's all we can do. A couple questions. Last year, I planted raspberries, and maybe too many, in several different types. We've been harvesting some so far. We have a lot of really tiny looking raspberries that are dark. I guess they're not ready yet. I don't know what they are. Nancy tasted one and she said it was really bad, really awful tasting. I mean, they're tiny. I'm hoping that they're just early stage and they got to grow yet. But the bigger question I have about the raspberries, is there such a thing as a fall raspberry plant? Because we have really long canes growing right where the raspberries are planted. They have the spikes on them, but there's nothing to them. They're not showing any flowers. There's no raspberries on them. Are they like just a weed type of thing that I should cut out because they're taking up a lot of room?
No, they're the ones that'll make raspberries next year.
Oh, okay. And what do I do with the I know with the blackberry canes that we have, I usually leave them over winter, and then I will trim them out, the dead ones out come spring. Do I do the same thing with raspberries?
Yeah. I mean, there's different kinds of raspberries. There's what's called ever blooming raspberries, which are, you know, a little bit trickier to prune because you get about 10% of the harvest in the spring harvest, and then you get the rest later on in the year. But the raspberries are, you know, they'll produce a cane this year, and the cane produces the fruit next year, and then it dies. So the canes, when you go in and you cut out the dead ones over the winter, it's the ones that produce the fruit. And then you leave the other ones because they had been there and they hadn't produced fruit. And that's the way it goes. So it sounds like the new growth, now that it's gotten established and it has a better root system, the new growth that you're getting is very robust. And so if you're not getting a great harvest this year, there are indications that you'll have a fabulous harvest next year. Now, I'm a little worried about the raspberries that are black or very dark. I'm a little concerned about that. I'm wondering if it could be a fungus disease. Not that I've ever seen anything, but there are fungus diseases that get into fruit. Particularly, there's something called black rot that gets in grapes and causes the fruits to turn kind of black and shriveled, dark and shriveled. And they don't look completely shriveled, but they're very bitter. And the fact that you said that they were bitter makes me think that it could be a disease. How's the foliage look on those plants that have the dark
The
fruit?
the foliage looks fine. I mean, there are a couple canes that look ratty. I should probably cut them as soon as the fruit that's on them are gone. But they may be the ones that I transplanted late fall. But most of the canes, everything looks fine. It's just that they're really tiny. I keep telling Nancy, well, maybe this is the later bearing crops that have, you know, they're just coming out now and they're going to get bigger. If they don't, then what would be the reason why they're staying so tiny? I mean, tiny.
Well, see, the fact that they've turned color already makes me think they're not going to get bigger, because they usually do their growing in the green stage. And then when they reach full size, that's when they turn color. So I don't think they're going to get any bigger once they've already turned color.
Okay.
So
most of them haven't, though. Most of them haven't turned color. My bigger concern was that they're really small, and there are a few that are getting dark. And I mean, not black like rotten, just darker.
yeah, it could be some kind of fungus disease.
Okay. Nancy said they remind her of the wild strawberries that grow in your lawn. They're that size. They're real tiny.
Right. So, but yeah, the fact that they're dark and they're already turned color and they're small and they're bitter, you may want to remove those canes, because it appears that you have plenty of healthy canes. So I'm a little bit concerned that might be. If you could send me pictures, I'll see if I can look into it a little more, which you can do either via text or on my via my email. You know my email, right? It's gardenwithpeggy@gmail.com.
Yes.
So you can send me some pictures either way so I can do a little more digging. But that's my concern. They shouldn't be turning color when they're small. They're not going to get any bigger. You know, they just, once they start to ripen, that's it. You know, it's the same with strawberries. Once they start to ripen, that's it, you know, and they don't continue to ripen when you pick them. So, yeah, so I would like to see a little more input. So, but that's what I'm leaning to, that it's some kind of a disease that's in there, which is not good. So,
okay. We'll keep an eye on that then. And secondly, quickly, I have a row of potatoes that I've grown. One end of the row is already dying out. The stems and leaves turned yellow. Does that indicate there's a disease, or are they can't be ready to pick? I mean, I planted them mid-April, I guess.
well, hard to tell. What the foliage that's turning yellow, is it spotted in any way, or any speckles on it? Is it limp and hanging down, or is it still sort of robust but yellow?
No, it was more limp and hanging down, no spots on it. I'm just concerned. The rest of the potato row, every plant looks great. It was just this one end. So I don't know if it was the seed potatoes I planted were diseased, or I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, unless should I dig that portion of the row out so that, well, if it's in the soil, it'll still spread.
You know about the Irish potato famine, right?
Yeah.
It was caused by a disease that now we get in tomatoes. It's called late blight. And it does manifest the way that you described, that it turns yellow. The tubers actually tend to turn black, but it is the same disease that gets on potatoes as tomatoes. And then there's another disease called early blight. The timing is more for early blight, and you're more likely to see that on tomatoes. I've seen it more on tomatoes. So there's no way to tell. I mean, we could send it out and have samples looked at it. You could try. If it were me, I would, since they're not going to grow anymore, if the foliage is shot, then I would try digging them up and see what you've got.
Okay.
And
right.
I mean,
Okay.
you've got nothing to lose by digging them up. And if it is a disease and it's in the potatoes that are in the ground, you're probably better off getting them out than leaving them in to spread. Because one of the ways that it spreads in the ground is when you water, it moves through the soil as the water moves through the soil. So better to get it, I would say better to get it out and see what you've got, and maybe slow down the spread, and make sure you do not plant any solanaceous crops in that area next year.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, I was thinking something along those lines. So thank you very much. If she can, Nancy would like to say one thing, please.
Sure, of course.
Okay. Bye-bye, Peggy. Here's Nancy.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Peggy.
Hey, Nancy. How are you?
Hey, I'm well, thank you. And I have to say, I was very impressed with your cooking demonstration. I think you need to have a cooking show now, like Julia Child. I watch reruns of her, but she has nothing on you.
Well, thank you. We did have fun. We did have fun doing it, and but that's so easy. I mean, peas and cheese sandwich, it can't be any easier than that. But yeah. We did have fun, and it is sort of a family tradition, so it's just a fun thing. But it is easy, and it's, it's so good. They're so good, and they're a great, summer thing. You don't heat up the kitchen by, doing a lot of big cooking. And well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. We actually, that was take two. We had done it earlier with my hair down, and every time I looked down to make the peas and cheese sandwich, my hair covered my face. I was completely unaware. So when I went to look at it to see, I was like, you can't even see me. You can't see me at all. So we did it again, and we did it right before we were going to have dinner. So I had a studio audience. I don't know if you noticed, there was somebody's phone started ringing in the middle of taping. And but I had a studio. I had everyone who was coming for dinner standing around watching.
Wow.
We do this thing.
Just like a real cooking show.
Yeah, it was just like a real cooking show. It was fun. We had a good time. And I mean, that's, what this show is all about. We want to learn. We want to share. I learn as much, information as I give out. But the whole idea is to have fun and, have a joyful part of life. So, well, I'm glad you appreciate it.
Yeah, I did. And I'm thinking that is a really easy, like when I have my son over next time, one of them, that's what we're having. But what, did you serve anything else with it? Or just that?
No, it was just that. It was just that. People could have as many. I mean, we had the cheese for the protein. We had, no, sometimes I do like, under current circumstances, I've been kind of a little overwhelmed with everything that's going on. So I thought we would just keep it really simple. But I do like to serve a nice salad with it, on the side. But we didn't do that this time. It was just straight peas and cheese.
Wow, that's great. I think I mentioned I bought fancy English muffins. They were like rather expensive, and they were garlic English muffins, and I thought this will be great, and I brought them home, and Bob said, what the heck, why didn't you just buy plain white English muffins? So anyway, I'm not gonna waste those. So we did have them, and it actually was very good. I guess the garlic, maybe it was like your crazy salt. Maybe
Yes.
it added a little bit of flavor to it. So, but I have to go out and buy plain white English muffins, and because we're getting plenty of those peas, and they're delicious.
Yeah, they are. They're so good.
So
They're one of the.
thank you for that
You're very welcome.
wonderful recipe.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that you enjoyed that little video. We did, as I said, we did have fun. All right, sending hugs. We will talk soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for calling. Okay, we have another caller. Who else is on the phone?
Catherine.
Catherine, where's Catherine from? Catherine, are you with us? Hello?
This is Pat from Edison.
Oh,
Hello.
it's Pat from Edison.
Oh,
Sorry,
That's me.
my robot answering machine had it all wrong. She said it was Catherine from Madison. Obviously, it's not. Okay, so can we get the Wigelia up, please? There we go. So have you done any work on this, Pat?
I was out there yesterday and I'm looking at it, and in the tallest part, which is in the back, which popped up this year after it bloomed. And the only problem, and I'm pointing to the screen like you could see me, but from that point down, there is nothing else. It's just a bare stalk, as is most of the plant.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it grows. Yeah, kind of the way it grows. So, but the plant looks very healthy. I would make one suggestion on the overall shape of the plant that not a big deal, but when you look at it, from the view of the picture that I'm looking at, it tapers on the bottom.
Right.
It's smaller on the bottom than it is on the top. And that's not always desirable because then the top shades the bottom a little bit, and you can end up not having great growth on the bottom, so it'll start to get bare. Better shape is slightly tapered the other way, so that's slightly wider on the bottom and slightly narrower as it goes up, so that way the whole thing gets sun rather than it's shading itself out on the bottom. So
Right, makes sense.
You might want to take that into consideration when you're doing your pruning. But if it were me, I would take those ones in the back and do whatever you need to do to get them down, because they do look like they're kind of sticking out of, and
Yeah.
and then
Take it down to the ground, take it down a couple of feet.
well, wherever you take it down to, it will resprout. They're very good about resprouting. They're pretty tough plants. So if it's completely bare, and you don't want it to, and if you take it all the way down to the bottom, you're going to have a giant hole. You can sort of soften that by taking it back to below where you want it to be. So if you want it to be close to the top of where the rest of the plant is, if that's a desirable height, then you want to take it back to a joint. And you'll see that there's a joint somewhere where you can have buds coming out. And you want to take it back below where the optimal height is, because when it starts to grow, it's going to get up to that height. And you don't want it to do what this one did, which is, go beyond the ultimate height. And then you have to prune it again. So you want to, if you do choose to not take it all the way back, because that will leave a big ugly hole, you can cut it, the bare branch, back to a place where it will have the ability to resprout a little bit further back than you want the ultimate height. Now, it will look like a hole for a while, but it will resprout relatively quickly and fill that in. Whereas if you cut it all the way back and it's a hole, it'll take a lot longer to fill in. So you're going to have to make that decision looking at it. But that other kind of explosive shoot that's going off to the left, that you're going to have to look at, because it looks like that whole section has a lot of branches, and looking at it from here, which of course is not the greatest way to look at it, it looks like it has side branches way into the center. So you may want to just prune that very selectively and make it narrower than the bottom, but maybe not cut it all the way into the center. And then, walk around it a lot. Do a lot of walking around, and find the longest branch on this side and take it back to a joint, and then the longest branch on this side, because you want to bring it in on the top, and so that it's more tapered, and then down from the top. And you
also is, go ahead.
Extreme pruning, like maybe what you did last year. I don't know exactly what you did last year, but extreme pruning can also trigger a significant amount of new growth, suckering. So maybe that's what happened. Maybe you pruned it so much last year that you triggered a lot of new growth this year. And so you want to temper that. You want to do some pruning to get it down, but maybe not as much as you did last year, because you don't want to trigger as much new growth as you got, because obviously you did all that work and now you're going to have to do it again.
Well, that's what I was afraid of. That's why I said I'm not doing this, because I know it's all going to go sprouting. And I did do very little last year. I did take the center one out, like you had suggested, an old, branch or whatever. But like that tall one has nothing else. There are no other branches other than what you see. So I guess I should just take that one down to the ground, or 3/4 of the way, or
take a good look at it, because I'm looking at it from the front. I can't see it from the back at all. So I can't evaluate what it's going to look like when you take it out. Only you can do that when you're there. So again, you can decide, even if there's just that cluster of foliage at the top, you can, it will resprout along that stem, most likely, if you just cut it back part way. But if it's okay to get rid of the whole thing, then get rid of the whole thing.
Okay. Now that left-hand section that you're talking about, if I take part of that back, you're just saying part of, say, the longest branch over there.
Right. Exactly.
And just part of it, though, not the whole thing, because I'm afraid it's going to just sprout out again.
Right. Again, I would take it back far enough so that the plant is more tapered on the top, but leave what you can.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. I will give that a try, probably this afternoon.
It's very healthy. So you got that going for you.
Oh, it was absolutely gorgeous when it was in bloom.
They are.
I mean, the whole thing was beautiful. And it's been in there, I don't know, 20 years or so. So,
well, if you want to do something fun, you can layer it, where if there are branches lower to the ground, does not appear to be the case in this picture, but if you have any branches lower to the ground that you can pin to the ground, you do a little scraping on the underside of the bark and then pin it to the ground in that spot. They're pretty good at rooting themselves like that, and then you can propagate them if that tickles your fancy. But it's
no, I have more forsythia in this yard than you can imagine, because it has done it itself.
Right.
When they get tall enough, they lay down and they multiply.
Yes.
And everything is multiplying, including my catalpa trees. And how is yours doing?
My catalpa tree is beautiful. It looks like it might get some flowers this year. I'm very excited.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you haven't had any. Mine did not have very many this year. I'm surprised. Normally I could go out in the yard and I could smell them, but there was really not as much as in past years, or the scent isn't there either. So I don't know what's going on with that, but the weather, I guess, is crazy. So.
Yeah, I think mine bloomed last year. It did bloom last year, but catalpas are one of my favorite trees, as you know, because I was trying so hard to find one. You can't buy them.
Right.
They're very hard to buy. And people that have them either love them or hate them. The people that hate them have them near the street or in the driveway or over a sidewalk, where all the stuff that they drop becomes annoying. And if you have them in a spot like that, then they're annoying. They're like the definition of annoying. You know, when people say, oh, that's a trashy tree, it drops all this stuff. Well, it's a trashy tree, it drops all this stuff. But if it drops it on your lawn and then when you mow the lawn, it just gets mowed and chopped up, who cares? It's not a problem. If it's on a sidewalk, it becomes a slippery, slimy mess. So you have to make sure that you plant it in the right spot. And the ones I had at Blooming Acres were, you know, in a field. They were magnificent, and the branches grew all the way down to the ground. You know, they arched all the way down to the ground, and this was this monster plant covered in flowers. It was spectacular. And so the one that you allowed Tommy and I to come and dig up is in a similar spot in the backyard. It's just all has grass all around it. So the mowing men come and then they mow everything, and whatever trash the tree drops just gets mulched into the ground. So it's not a problem. So it is important.
Is it doing its job that it was meant to do, to hide that building?
The big ugly building? Yes, it is in a perfect place to hide the big ugly building. There are places where you can now sit in the yard and you can't see the big ugly building. It's not 100%. But it's definitely where the table and chairs are that you would sit and eat outside. You can sit in this little, you know, area and not see the big ugly building at all. So
terrific. Very good.
But which is good because they continue to put more garbage on the side of the building facing us, which is above the fence. So the more, you know, big ugly building. Yep. Of course, last year they had a big party and somebody came around onto that side of the big ugly building where all their stuff is, and they decided to pee. Like, I guess they don't have indoor plumbing. So much for my neighbors, you know. I mean, so more trees. We need more trees. That's it. More trees.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've got them popping up. Everything in my yard is you know, multiplying like crazy, driving me nuts. But I try to get out there as much as I can.
Well, you must have the magic touch for everything to be doing so well.
Oh, well, it's been here. I've been here 40 years. Those trees were here when I got here. So they are old, but they're hanging in there. They are gorgeous. I love them. It's a great place to put picnic tables and everything else because it creates so much shade.
Right, exactly.
So,
yeah.
Very good.
Well, thank you again for my catalpa, and good luck with your Wigelia. Send me pictures. Hey, send me pictures of your progress. Yeah.
Okay.
Do a little slide series for me and then send it. That'd be awesome.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Thanks for calling. Have a great week.
Yes, you too.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. So we've got Danny from Metuchen from California here. Danny girl, how are you?
Good. Good morning, Peggy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there.
I have a follow-up question regarding the Wigelia.
Okay.
Because I think I sent you some picture of mine. They were gorgeous, and they, like I said, this was the first year they bloom at the same time as the spirea. Usually they come one after another because I also have Forsythia. So usually it's the yellow one comes, and then the pink one, and my white one. This year they bloom at the same time. They were so full of it, and at the same time they're all like perfect bloom. Now, since you mentioned I'm in California, I won't be home for another month. Would it be too late for me to clone it then?
No. I would say maybe a lighter touch at that point, you know, a bit of a lighter touch. But, you know, the ones that are sticking way out, you know, eye pokers, you know, you can definitely take them off. I mean, we're talking about Wigelias here. We're not talking about something like a camellia that you want to fuss with and, you know, a high maintenance plant versus a, you know, tough as nails plant. So, you know, Wigelia is one of those that's tough as nails. So, so I would be a little more judicious in my pruning, but you can definitely shape it a little bit.
Okay, just take out the extremely long one.
Right, and keep in mind that they set their flower buds relatively early. I don't know if you're back in a month, that'll be the middle of July. A lot of times flower buds are already set by the end of July for the following year. So what you want to keep in mind with your judicious pruning is you
Okay.
want to do more of the kind of pruning where you take the longest branch all the way back, as opposed to
Right.
light snipping all the way around. Because the light snipping all the way around is what's going to take off next year's flowers.
Got you. Okay.
So, you
I
know,
would do that.
right.
So yeah. All right. So I would do that. I will send you some pictures because I had been walking my sister's dog here, and yeah, last night actually I saw a strangest tree. I took a picture. On the top half of the tree is in a perfect cone shape, but the bottom half is full, and the diameter is about 3 times the size of the height. I'm just like, this is so weird because the dog is looking at, staring at something. I had nothing to do but looking at the scenery. So I will share that picture next time when I send it to you.
Okay. Can you send me a close up of the leaves so I can, that would be helpful identifying it.
Okay, I would definitely have a chance to get back to the same
Okay.
spot.
So the dog likes to look at this
All right.
tree, or you like to look at the tree?
Oh no, we don't know what he's looking at. Yesterday we were sitting in front of somebody's house. This was the house. I'm like, what is he looking at? There's a light inside, there's this. And then finally he was looking at a bunny rabbit.
Oh,
He was staring at a bunny rabbit, but he doesn't make a move. He just sat
There.
there and he was looking at it. It was funny. And I'm like, okay, you're looking at something, so I had to find something to look at. I was looking at beautiful sky. I was looking at the trees. I was looking at everybody's flower. So, yeah, I just had to, occupy myself while he's doing his little investigation.
okay. Well, send me some pictures of that tree because now you got me curious, and we'll figure out what it is,
Okay.
and I'll let you know.
Okay, will do. Take good care. I'll
Okay,
be
you
in
too.
touch.
All right. Thanks so much for calling.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right. I think that we're good. I didn't talk about the red sorrel or pruning, deadheading the rhododendron. So I guess we're going to have to do that next week if we can.
Unless you would do one now.
No, we'll save them for next week. There's a possibility I won't be here next week. We're shooting to make sure everything, goes according to plan. But if you miss me, we'll let you know, and we'll do a little blurb saying, that I'll be back the following week. I expect to be able to be here. I'm hoping to be able to be here next week, but we'll let you know. So until I see you again, have a good one. Bye-bye.